Tony, well, just first of all, how delighted were you to get the result at the weekend, and also the fact it now takes you out of that relegation playoff place?
Absolutely delighted to get the result, but I think it was, just reward for a fantastic performance, and I've said that to the players all along, that we get that, if we get a level of performance, the results will come, and I think you've seen that in recent weeks. And as an away team going to a difficult venue, I thought we carried out a game plan, we executed it really well, and we got our rewards, as you say, from it. But as soon as the final whistle goes in that match, it's very much laser focus in the Motherwell match at home now, and that's where we are.
And was it a little bit bittersweet in the end, seeing Neil Critchley lose his job in the immediate aftermath of that game? You'd never like to see.
No, of course it is. You've always got sympathy for your colleagues. Anybody that loses a job, it's not a nice thing. So sympathy and empathy for Neil in that position, because this job, it requires a lot of passion, and you work 24/7, and for that to be taken away from you is difficult. So yeah, I had a conversation with him, so wish him all the best. But again, it's something that I can't control, but what I can control is my own team, and our full focus now is on a home game against Motherwell this Saturday.
How much can this do for your confidence to be out of that drop zone for the moment, in terms of pushing your way up and ensuring that you stay in this league this season?
To be honest, I think the confidence has been good, around the camp, and I think you see our recent form, our last 6 games, and actually it was the last Motherwell game, particularly the second half performance, that kicked us on. I thought that was the start of our resurgence, if you like, in terms of form. We'd had a bad results in February, the reason being for injuries to the squad, but I thought in that game in particular, you've seen us really picking up in terms of level of performance, and since that now, our last 6 games, league games, we've won 3, we've drawn 1, and we've lost 2 to Hibs and to Rangers, who are second and third in the league. So I think confidence is good at the moment. Yes, we had a dip against Hibs, we addressed that, and we need to make sure that we use the confidence from Saturday's performance and result against Hearts and take that into this Saturday's game against Motherwell.
And as you say, Motherwell this weekend, you can close the gap on them to 2 points with a win. I mean, how big an incentive is that, and also how important is it that you continue to put pressure on the teams above you as well? For me,
it's very much, it's cliche, it's just game by game, it's just making sure that we focus in the game. Anything that comes as a result of that is great, but we must just focus on that 90-minute performance that, we put a lot of work into this week. The players have been rested down because there was a bug going about last week, and even greater credit to them for a lot of them getting through. Seen a lot of cramp in the Hearts game, but there was a bug going about. So we've rested them down. We've got us all focused and ready to go for this week. But it's very much just to focus on the 90-minute performance against Motherwell, and we'll see where that takes us.
And how's your team news now then? Is everyone over it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, as I say, we rested them, a few of them down. A lot of them had half a dozen at least had the bug, and I think you've seen that last Saturday. Some of the players that were coming off and cramping, because it's not like that normally with this squad. They're a very fit squad, but everybody's returned. The only one that isn't available for selection is Jordan McGee, but Adewumi's back, and all the other ones, as I say, you said Palmer Holdens, your Tony Pertalas, Ziad Larkech, who came off. We cramped, they're all fit and they're all ready to go. So we had a full training session today down at Dens, and the boys are in a good place, I think, at the moment.
And you had Scott Fraser coming on late on in the game as well. I mean, how good is it to have him back?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He's been training really hard and really well, Scotty. I've got to say, as I say, he played in the week that we had the free week with the semi-final weekend. We made use of that with a practice match, and Scotty got a full 80 minutes in there for that game. And since that, he's trained every day, and he's went from strength to strength. And yet we brought him on last week, and he's in contention for a place this week.
And obviously there's always talk around your young players here at Dundee. We'll talk about Josh Mulligan linking him with Rangers. Is there any update on that? Is that something that's...
No, not as far as I'm aware, but it doesn't surprise me. Again, I've said it all along, that if these players show a level of performance that I think Josh has consistently shown now, as has Lyle Cameron previously in the season, as had Luke McCowan prior to that, of course you're going to attract suitors, So it's important. Josh he's a level-headed boy. He'll continue to focus on his performance for the team. Everything's about the team at the moment, and just see where that takes. But I'm just asking for him and the rest of the team to continue that consistent level of performance.
Are there any other updates in terms of contracts, or is it at the moment, is it about...
No, any updates. We're very much, working away in the background with that, but the full focus, as I say, is on the matches coming up, and the next match is the most important one, and that's Motherwell at home on Saturday. So as I say, we've got a laser focus as a squad and as a staff getting into that, and everything else will keep on going.
We were just speaking to Lyle Cameron. I mean, how pleased have you been with him, because it could be easy to get distracted with his move in the summer, but
Yeah.
he's really got his head down. And
He is. He's a brilliant boy. He's just such a level-headed boy. He's a real maturity for his age, and that comes with the exposure that he's had. He's played a lot of first team football now. He's played international football at his stage, as have the other ones, Mulligan you mentioned, and with that brings a level of maturity, and that's something that really impresses me. He's very focused, Lyle, and he knows Dundee's his club, and he'll do absolutely everything to make sure we get results on a Saturday. And that's the players I want in my team. Not just good players, but players that are absolutely committed towards Dundee Football Club, and Lyle's one of them.
Thank you.
Against Hearts, Antonio Portales came into midfield, and what did you make of his performance in that role? And is that a position you'd like to utilise him in a little bit more going forward?
I thought he was excellent, and again, I thought he grew into the game. I didn't think his start to the game was particularly good, but he grew into it, showing his intelligence. But it's just good to have options, with players in terms of a bit of versatility. You've seen Ryan Astley as well, playing in a kind of unfamiliar role, but playing it superbly well. So it's important when you've got a squad of players that can be adaptable and can be versatile, that you utilise them in these positions. And Tony was an example of that, Ryan was an example of that, and it's just good for me to see the squad that there is versatility within it.
Clean sheet against Hearts, 2 clean sheets in the last 3 games. Obviously we've spoken about the defensive issues this season, but do you think that's the sort of work that you've put in on the training ground starting to show on pitch as well?
I do. I think so. I also think, as I said, I do think the catalyst for our return to form, I would say, the last 6 games, as I say, won 3, drawn 1, lost 2, was that Motherwell game, and particularly second half, and it was introduction of Joe coming back into things, and we look more solid in terms of a solid base now, but we realised, we tripped ourselves up, we were going well up till the Hibs performance, and then we maybe came off it a little bit defensively, so we realised the standards that we need to maintain, and we need to keep a consistency of performance, and if we do that, and it's so important that we show that confidence in and out of possession, and I thought we did that particularly well against Hearts, but that's gone now. That's history. That game was won, and it's now looking at the next game and trying to maintain a level of performance to make sure we give ourselves the biggest chance of winning a game.
Just finally, obviously coming up against Motherwell, Michael Wimmer's had a bit of time now to settle into the job, and just what are you expecting from his side, and what differences do you notice in this Motherwell side to one earlier?
Just to mention the word you mentioned there, versatility. His team are versatile. They've won taken 4 points out of 6 in their last 2 home games, but they've lost their 2 away games prior to that against Aberdeen and Kilmarnock. But even in last week, I watched them against St Johnstone last week. He changed his shape. I think 3 times he changed shape in that game. So there is a bit of versatility in his squad, and he's not scared to, do that within matches, change things, in-game changes within the matches. So, yeah, I think it's a tough opponent. They've got good players, and I think we need to be at our best, as I say, in possession and out of possession to make sure we give ourselves the best chance of winning.
Okay, Lyle. Well, first of all, a fantastic result at the weekend, which takes you out of that playoff position. How delighted were you to get that result?
Yeah, obviously it was a really hard fought result. I think we worked really hard, and we knew the type of game it was going to be. Obviously Hearts had a lot of the ball, but that kind of worked as our game plan, to be honest, let them have it and catch them on the counter-attack, and I think we did that really well. But like you say, it was a massive 3 points to get us out of that spot, so hopefully we can just stay out of it now.
How much confidence does it give you now that you're out of that position? Because it's always hard, I would imagine, when you're in that position to think we have to get out of it, but now you're out of it, do you feel there'll be even more confidence now to push on and upwards?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on you when you're down in that spot because no one wants to be there. But at the same time, we know ourselves that there's still a lot of work to do, and we still need to work hard and put more results on the board and try and get far away from it as possible.
And of course, you face Motherwell this weekend. I think if you win that one, you can close the gap on them to 2 points. I mean, how big an incentive is that, and how important is it that you put the pressure on those teams above you as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like what happened when we beat Hearts, it pulls them right back in it as well, and you just want to do that with every team as possible. The more teams in amongst it fighting, the better, really, for us. So I think we've had quite a lot of good games against Motherwell this season, so hopefully Saturday can be another one of them and we can get the 3 points.
And obviously, you don't want to talk about Rangers itself, but I mean, you are off there in the summer. How important is it to you to leave here, ensuring that Dundee are still in the top flight?
Yeah, like I say, at the minute Dundee's my main focus. I've had a good few years here and I just want to finish on a high as much as possible. So for the next 4 games, I just think we're going to try our hardest, give it all, and hopefully we finish on a positive, as high up the bottom 6 as we can.
And some people might have thought, well, is his eye going to be off the ball? But you've shown that's not the case, and I take it that's not the case going forward. As you
I understand where the speculation be coming from that I wouldn't be giving my all for Dundee, but that's not the case at all. Obviously, like I say, I've had good years here and I only want to end on a high, so that's the goal for me personally. Obviously I was a bit annoyed because I had a niggle for a couple of weeks and I missed a few games, so hopefully now I can just get back playing and do my best to contribute to the rest of the good season.
How important is it for you for Dundee to stay in this division? Because as you say, you've come through the ranks here, and as a child going through all the stages, it must be so important to you that they stay up here.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is where the club belongs. Obviously, it's a much better league than the Championship. Everyone wants to be in the Premier League because you're playing much better games, you get more crowds and everything. So it's massive for the club, and I think all of us, the boys, all understand that, and we all want to be able to help keep us here because that's where we belong. And I think, as well, we've been unlucky throughout the year to be where we are, but at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do with that now. We just need to react and do as well as we can in the last 4 games.
How much do you feel this team has it in them to stay in this division?
Yeah, I think we're all confident. Like I say, there's been just a few things went against us throughout the season. Obviously, when our big Joe, our captain, came back, that really helped us, and we've been showing stronger performances since. And I think we've had a real good turnaround the form in the last couple of months as well, and the confidence just grew. And it's quite a good time for that, to be honest. So hopefully we can just keep doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously the team's faced defensive issues this season, but another clean sheet against Hearts, the second in the last 3 games. And do you think that's the sort of defensive work that the team's been putting in starting to come to the fore now?
Yeah, I think we've been working a lot on our shape. Obviously, we've changed to a 4, and Big Joe coming back in as well. I think we've been much more organised, which has helped a lot because, as you can see, the stats don't lie. We've conceded a ridiculous number of goals, and we've made it really difficult for ourselves to win games with how many we need to score to win a game. So I feel like if we just keep working on clean sheets, we're a team who can score goals, so we just need to keep doing that.
And obviously, speaking of goal scoring, your teammate Simon Murray's been nominated for the PFA Scotland Player of the Year. And just, what's he like to play with, and how important has he been for the team this year?
Yeah, Si's brilliant. Obviously, he's a great teammate to have within the dressing room, great to have on the pitch. Like, obviously, we have our disagreements sometimes because he's very full on, but that's just the way it needs to be in football. I get on great with him, and you can't argue he scored a ridiculous number of goals. And like I said earlier, I don't know where we'd be without him, to be honest, because he scored some massive goals for us against teams where we need to beat around us and stuff. So no, he's been great for us, and he's a great lad and great to have around. So no, it's been good to play with him this year.